Welcome to Food Exposed, where each week we take a good look at what's on your plate. My name is Jackie Keller, and today we're talking about the whole DIY thing. No, not arts and crafts DIY, but the art of crafting something wonderful to eat. Making something delicious from whatever you can scrounge up in the kitchen, that's like play with your food elevated to a whole new level. And you know, you don't have to go far to find cooking shows of all types these days, from mild to wild and wacky. But if you struggle with cooking and don't want to spend all of your money eating out, here are a couple of really simple, quick menu planning tips. Number one, organize your food stuff. You know, pull out the old cans, the jars, the packages. Go ahead, check for expiration dates. Don't be afraid of what you're going to find. Be prepared to dispose of anything that isn't wholesome or is a mystery food. Like if it doesn't have a wrapper, you donate or you throw it away. Anything that you can't use or don't need or haven't thought of what to do with. Number two, assess what you've got left in terms of the food groups. I like to think of it in terms of fruits and veggies, then proteins, grains, and if you can't tell because there's no label on it, just open it, dump it, and recycle the contents of the can. Number three, go online or look at your recipe files for those major ingredients that you have left. And even if you can't find something to match exactly, you'll get inspired by reading other recipes or, you know, seeing what else other people have done with that ingredient. Remember, it's already bought and paid for if it's in your pantry or your refrigerator, so you're really not losing anything by trying, and who knows, you just may love what you create. My guest today is an expert at doing just that. He's an expert at making magic in the kitchen. Chef D. Brandon Walker is the program manager and instructor of the Culinary Training Program at St. Joseph Center in Venice, California. And he also serves as the executive chef at Bread and Roses Cafe, where they feed the homeless with a gourmet meal 5 days a week. Last summer, he won the competition on the hit TV show Chopped, and I am so proud to welcome Chef D to Food Exposed. Thank you so much for coming.
Well, thank you. It's my pleasure.
Got you out of the kitchen.
Yeah, that's right.
So, you know, tell me about St. Joseph Center. I mean, let's start with that, because I know that is your mainstay, your passion, your focus right now.
Well, I've been working at the St. Joseph Center in Venice Beach for 7 years now, and
has it been that long since we worked together?
Yeah, it's been 7 years, and I really found my passion there. It's about, you know, helping the people that are most vulnerable in the community, and there's a great synergy between two programs at the St. Joseph Center, which is the Culinary Training Program and the Bread and Roses Cafe. So everything that I'm teaching the underemployed and unemployed at the CTP, or the Culinary Training Program, we utilize those same techniques down at the Bread and Roses Cafe, where we take what really, in essence, other people would throw away, and we create these gourmet meals. So the synergy is, again, wonderful between the two programs, and it elevates the level of food at the cafe. And I don't think that there's any more appropriate time or reason to give someone a great meal, you know, as when they're at their lowest. You know, and again, we're serving the homeless, men and women, and low-income families.
Wow. So if I understand it correctly, I mean, it's really, and I visited once and very briefly, so I didn't see how the whole operation works, but people make reservations and they come, they sit down, they're waited on. It's not like a soup kitchen.
No, it's not a soup kitchen, and that's a really important aspect of what we do at the Bread and Roses, is that everyone makes a reservation. So their name appears on a list that is then printed out, and then we receive them, you know, at the time that they've made a reservation for, either 9:30, 10:30, 11:30, whenever they've made their reservation. You know, what we're striving for is accountability. We need people to show up and be a part of their own solution. And so basically you go through an orientation at another site, which is called the Homeless Service Center, which is about a couple blocks away. And there you go through orientation and you are assigned a caseworker. And the caseworker sits down and says, what got you here? let's try to figure out what's happening, whether it be, mental illness or some type of addiction, and then one of our core competencies at the agency that we pride ourselves on is our ability to give someone a referral, to bring in our other agencies that are doing good work in the community and get someone the help that they need. So we're not just feeding someone and then, having them, shuffle
Go back
along.
on the street.
Right, correct.
Right.
We really want them to be accountable and to check in with us each and every day. So that's one of the privileges of doing that, is being able to eat at the Bread and Roses Cafe, which is such a unique place.
Wow, that is just wonderful work. It must be so gratifying to hear people who literally would otherwise potentially be eating food off the street, to be able to serve them something that's wholesome.
Well, that's what brings in that nutrition component. That's what makes it so vital, that we're giving them something that is wholesome and nutritious, because for most of those folks, that will be the only meal that they'll eat that day.
Wow. And the Bread and Roses Cafe relies on donations, or?
It's a combination. Basically, we have great partners in the community like Whole Foods and Panera Bread and California Chicken Cafe, and they are great partners, and they donate things that they, are day of or no longer able to sell for some reason. And so they'll go ahead and give those to us, which we utilize. We also utilize, most of our fruits and vegetables come from the West Side Food Bank, which is a great organization that is affiliated with the Los Angeles Regional Food Bank. So that's another great partner of ours. Everything else we shop for ourselves, because there are certain items that you just can't get donated or don't get donated usually, like proteins. So I'll usually go out and buy a protein, and then I'll combine that with whatever we happen to have on hand. So one week we'll get grapefruits and zucchinis and bell peppers, and then the next week we'll get a stack of potatoes and some carrots. So whatever I have, and then I think, well, what am I teaching over at Culinary Training? So if we're making a classical French brown sauce, then maybe we'll go and buy some beef, and we can put together something like a beef bourguignon and use the carrots and use the potatoes. And so
Nice.
That's basically how I do my menu planning.
That's great. And I know that you do a lot of menu planning for your own catering business as well. Tell us a little bit about that.
I run a successful catering business here in Los Angeles. It's called CoCooking, which is, it just means cook or humble cook in French. And we do corporate galas, we do dinner parties, we do, weddings, a lot of weddings. We do, parties for 20 people, for 200, for 500 people in the past. And that certainly keeps me busy, because I do work full-time at the St. Joseph Center. But it, again, is a real passion of mine to do, this elevated, seasonal farm to table, really, style cooking for a really a wide range of clients. And that usually takes up my time on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sundays. I'm usually doing events each and every week, pretty much.
Wow. So where do you have time for family?
Well, luckily, I've got these wonderful little girls. I have 3 girls, ages 4, 5, and 9, and they love to cook. So I get them down at Bread and Roses. They're volunteering, which
great.
is such a great, and that's really important to me, being a great example for them. And so they come down and they help out in the kitchen. And then when we're at home, they kind of understand, and they help with dinner. And so, I have benchmarks in my life, like, okay, I'm going to coach my daughter's basketball team, regardless of how busy I get. I'm going to, be home for dinner as much as I possibly can, and we're going to sit down and we're even going to prepare that food together. So things like that, that's basically how I, keep it all in balance. It's just certain things I will not compromise.
And in the middle of all that was Chopped. Tell us about that.
2013 was an amazing year, both at the Bread and Roses Cafe, for St. Joseph Center. For me personally, the business is doing better than ever, and then along comes the opportunity to be on Chopped, which is was one of my favorite shows, and I think it's such a successful show on the Food Network, because it's not really about personality, it's really about the cooking. It's 4 chefs, mystery ingredients, a clock, they start it. Boom, you got to go. And then you're judged, and then somebody gets chopped. And I was fortunate enough to come out on top. So yeah, I am officially Chopped champion.
Hey.
And the great thing about it is, they came down to Bread and Roses. They did all of the backstory there and the bio pieces. And the amount of attention and notoriety that it's brought to the good work that we're doing out there in Venice. I mean, we're getting letters from Vermont and New York and you name it.
That's great.
And yeah, it's just so wonderful. And to be able to go and say, look, I may cook at a place that gives the food away, and we might, utilize things that people have no use for otherwise, but we can still produce food that comes out, and is on a tremendously high level of execution. Yeah, so I think what prepared me for the show, I mean, little did they realize is that I'm really going through an episode of Chopped each and every day at the Bread and Roses Cafe. Because, I mean, we're literally walking in the morning and someone will walk down the street and one of our neighbors and will come in with a basket full of these giant zucchinis or eggplant, and so you really never know what you're going to get. And so I was well prepared.
Well, I think you're going to be well prepared for what we're going to do, because I could not resist doing a little co-cooking with you here.
Oh, no.
It may be 7 years since we shared the kitchen when you worked for me and we cooked together, but I thought we'd do a little bit of that today. So I have some mystery ingredients for you. Are you ready for your challenge here on Food Exposed?
I am ready.
Well, let's go cook.
Okay.
Okay, Chef D, so now's the time for you to absorb this challenge, because what we're going to do is throw together. I just brought some ingredients from the kitchen, and I thought you could create something wonderful from it. I know you can. And I did pick the ingredients for a reason. So real quick, I brought some cooked brown rice.
Okay.
Because we know that that's wholesome, nutritious, high fiber. Good base. And then kale, because everything's kale these days.
I love kale, personal favorite of mine.
Good, good. And I steamed it a little bit because kale does better with a little bit of time. Mm-hmm. So I knew time would be of the essence. So I steamed a little fresh kale for you. We chopped some red bell peppers.
Great.
And I brought some almonds because this is another one of my favorite nutritionally, really
foods, yeah.
great nutritional caliries there, great vitamin E and great omega-3 fatty acids. And then because I love dried fruit, I brought some unsulfured slivered dried apricots. You have some vegetable broth to work with.
Okay.
You have some extra virgin olive oil. And you have one of our salt and sugar-free seasoning blends. This is the Mediterranean blend, which you probably remember from when you worked with me.
Yes, wonderful.
So the pan is getting hot.
Uh-huh.
And I'm going to turn the cooking over to you.
Okay. And
let you just kind of go for it and put something together for us.
Okay, wonderful.
All right.
Yep.
So.
Well, this is really, my philosophy.
Yeah.
That, there are just certain recipes that work. And then so understanding why those recipes work really will set you free from the necessity of having a recipe. So we'll just get started by adding a little bit of fat to the pan. And that's pretty hot there.
Yeah, I'm going to cool it down a little bit for you. Yeah. This thing really heats up.
And we'll start with the aromatics. And aromatics, this could be celery, this could be onion. Yeah. These beautiful red bell peppers, this is great. This is great. And so, we'll just kind of, you can already smell that. That's wonderful. And so this is flavoring the fat that we have in the pan, and it's just going to get a little bit of caramelization on it. And we'll just have those soften. And again, I would add some fresh herbs to this, any kind of onion. It's really about what you have on hand. And now this looks like leftovers from my house. This looks like brown rice that,
It's just plain cooked.
The rice is just one of those things, right? You always make a little bit too much and you always end up with some of it left over. So the next thing that we'll do is add the nuts. The thing about when you're cooking with nuts is that they're very high in fat, good fat, but they will burn on you. So that's why we add them halfway through the cooking process. It's the same way that you would do garlic, So I would have, I'd have the onions or the peppers going first, and then I would add the nuts or the garlic about halfway through.
Smells great already.
Yeah, and because you're going to start getting the toastiness from the nuts.
Right. And that toasting does bring out all the flavor and fragrance of the nut.
basically, yeah. I mean, what's going on is that Maillard reaction, where you've got proteins and carbohydrates that are browning at temperatures over 120 degrees Celsius, and they're forming new flavor molecules. I mean, that's what's making it so delicious.
Yeah, yeah. I'm going to give this a little bit, since we've got some stuff in the pan now.
A little bit of juice. Yeah. And then go ahead and add the dried apricots. Now, again, these are high in sugar. They have quite a bit of fructose, not processed sugar, so this is good sugar. But because they do have that sugar content, you kind of have to watch out for these guys as well, because they will burn as well. So it's about proportion and timing. So what am I basing this on? I'm doing about 1 part aromatic, 1 part nut, 1 part fruit.
Okay.
Just kind of a 1-to-1 ratio. I'm going to add a little bit more fat to the pan.
And you can also, I know, moisten it with a little bit of the vegetable broth if you want to.
So what I'm doing is I'm creating a fond on the bottom of the pan, and then I'm going to go ahead and deglaze it, because this is just about the time. And you can see that it's starting to brown up there. That's a lot of flavor. And I'll go ahead and add my vegetable stock. Just enough to cover the bottom of the pan. And then we'll go ahead and kind of scrape and get all of those tasty bits up off the bottom of the pan. And this is classic French technique here. So just a little technique goes a long way for a lot of different dishes.
Now, do you emphasize this kind of cooking technique at the St. Joseph Center?
I do.
In your program?
This is exactly what I teach. Because, it's so practical. And no matter what the flavor profiles that a certain chef works with, most of the techniques are very similar. So when I prepare the students with these techniques, they do really well when they eventually get to their jobs. We have graduates of the program that are now executive chefs. And it's just absolutely mind-blowing.
Wonderful. I know I've employed several of your graduates.
Yes.
We start them out in our kitchen, and I'm always grateful to know that I can rely on the basic training that they've had through you.
Well, that's the cool thing about being a chef. It's like a family tree. It's your resume speaks volumes, and it's all about where you've been and who you've learned from. So, I'm happy to have come from the NutriFit kitchens. And you can see that this is actually starting to make kind of a syrup.
It is. It's
because
thickening.
the apricots are kind of giving off their pectin and their sugar, and it's getting delicious.
That's one of those nice things about apricots, is they have that high pectin content, which really helps too to make it thick.
And now we'll just add some base to it. We'll add the brown rice. This will make it hearty. We'll go ahead and stir that in.
Now, I know you mentioned that you like to use a lot of fresh herbs, and as you know now, we have our own farm at NutriFit, and we're growing a lot of our own fresh herbs. You're doing the same, aren't you?
Yes, we have an herb garden at the Bread and Roses Cafe. I was sick of all my fancy pants, chef friends. Oh, I got to go to the roof and get some silverback thyme. I'll be right back. And so I was like, why not? So I had a friend at my church who was a troop leader for the Boy Scouts, and as an Eagle Scout project, one of the Boy Scouts came and built us a tiered herb garden that we have in the back.
How cool!
Yeah,
that is wonderful.
Really neat.
Neat. So you just go out there, pick what you need.
That's right.
And so at what point now will we add the kale and wrap this dish?
Yeah, the kale is going to come here at the end, because we don't want to overcook the kale.
I love the color.
Yeah, and it's so vibrant, and we don't want to lose any of that by overcooking it, and we don't want to lose any of the enzymatic activity by raising the temperature too high. So at the end, and and it'll just wilt into your dish nicely. And you can do a little massaging of this beforehand if you want to break it down a little bit. You can just put a little dash of salt, which the sodium ions will draw the water out through the semi-permeable cell membranes and make it just a little bit softer, and then voila.
Yeah.
And look at that.
That's wonderful.
That's ready to go, and it's beautiful.
It is very, very beautiful.
Now don't forget the seasoning.
Yeah, you might want to pull the whole top off that. It's just add in a little. Now you're adding in the key ingredients for our Mediterranean blend: the basil, oregano,
I can smell the dill in
the
there.
dill.
Oh my God, that's so good.
That looks absolutely wonderful, Chef D. Thank you.
My pleasure. Let's plate it up.
All right.
Let's take a little bit of this.
Presentation, I know, is so important.
Yes.
I remember your your episode of Chopped, you know, getting it just right.
Well,
And they really grate on that. That's really real, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we do eat with our eyes. You know, that is half the battle. Like, you want the plate to look good, and look at that.
That is beautiful.
That.
All right,
That's
I'll hold it
wonderful.
for you. You taste.
Yes, absolutely. It'd be my pleasure. See, and I know I'm going to get all kinds of texture. What could be easier? I mean, you'll live forever eating like this,
Yeah,
and you'll
yeah.
be happy too.
And healthy.
That's right.
That's so good. Well, thank you so much for sharing that and for,
That
you know,
is-
improvising like that and giving us a little culinary lesson at the same time.
It was my pleasure.
It's so much fun. I know that our audience is going to want to follow you. They're going to want to experience what you're doing, live through your eyes. What's the best way for them to find you?
Well, I have a fabulous website, chefdbrandonwalker.com. And it's a wonderful site. I have instructional videos. I have recipes. It talks about all the things that we're doing as far as charity and philanthropic endeavors. And of course, it talks about the new book that's on the way, which is all about improvisational cooking.
Well, I'm going to look that up, and I'm going to follow you, and I'm going to
Please do.
hope that somewhere in that book there's a shared recipe that you wouldn't mind me borrowing for our NutriFit clients.
That would be an honor.
And I thank you again so much for coming to see us today. It was really, really great to have you.
It was my pleasure.
Keep up the good work.
I will.
We need people like you out there.
I will. Thank
All
you,
right.
Jackie.
Thank you. Here's a little story that illustrates the value of sharing resources and creating something from nothing. There are many versions of it, and I'm not really sure where it comes from originally, but here it goes. So many years ago, in a time of great hardship and famine, an old soldier wandered into a poverty-stricken village and asked for shelter for the night. "There's nothing here to eat," the villagers told him. "You better just move on." But the soldier stopped and he said, "I have enough here in my backpack to make soup for all of us. If I could just borrow a large pot." So the curious villagers, they produced a pot and stood around watching as the soldier filled it with water and built a small fire underneath. He then took 3 round stones from his backpack and dropped them into the water. As the water came to a boil, the soldier sniffed it and said, "I love stone soup, but if I had just a little cabbage, it would taste even better." At this point, one of the villagers disappeared and came back a few minutes later with a cabbage he'd been hiding, and he put it into the pot. And a while later, the soldier tasted the soup again and said, "This is good, but a couple of carrots would make it better still." And another villager produced a bunch of carrots, and so it went on as potatoes and onions and mushrooms, a little bit of salt beef were all added to the pot until indeed there was a delicious meal for all. We all have a contribution to make, and by sharing our gifts and resources, our lives are enriched. That's my story. Thank you so much for joining me today on Food Exposed. Join us next week for another look at what's on your plate. For more Food Exposed, check me out on emPOWERme.tv. And until next week, remember, make food your best friend and exercise your companion for life.